think, like, probably not the best comparison for like the generational player that Caitlyn is. But again, like, I don't think she took it personal. I don't think anyone would really take it personal, but I don't know if I would compare him to her.
I don't like the Pritchard and Clark comparison. I think that's a little, yeah. But I've met Reggie before too, and he wouldn't mean that in like a rude way. It just kind of was convenient for him at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to stop everything you are doing and listen to me right now, because the narrative around Caitlin Clark just shifted in a way that nobody saw coming. For months, we have been talking about jealousy. We have been talking about pettiness. And we have been talking about the WNBA veterans hating on the rookie phenom. But today, one of the realest, toughest, and most outspoken players in the league, Sophie Cunningham of the Phoenix Mercury, just stepped up to the microphone and absolutely shut down the disrespect coming from the NBA legends. Welcome back to the channel where we dig deeper than anyone else to find the truth. And today, we are breaking down the explosive reaction from Sophie Cunningham regarding Caitlin Clark's historic NBC debut, and more importantly, her scathing check of Reggie Miller's controversial comparison that has the entire basketball world in an uproar.
Backhanded compliment from another Indiana legend.
First of all, I think she did a really good job. She was a natural up there. She's a dweeb, so she knows the game, so that's no shock.
Let's set the stage, because the context here is absolutely vital. Caitlin Clark makes her broadcasting debut on NBC, sitting next to Carmelo Anthony and Reggie Miller, and she crushes it. She looks like a natural, she breaks down the game with elite IQ, and she handles the bright lights of Madison Square Garden like she was born there. But then, Reggie Miller, the Indiana legend, decides to open his mouth and make a comparison that quite frankly was insulting. He compared Caitlin Clark, the face of women's basketball, the woman who is single-handedly driving the economy of the sport, to Peyton Pritchard of the Boston Celtics. Now, no disrespect to Peyton Pritchard, he is a fine NBA player. He is a grinder. He is a champion, but he is a role player. He is a guy who comes off the bench and hits a few threes. Comparing Caitlin Clark to Peyton Pritchard is like comparing Michael Jordan to a really good sixth man. It is a fundamental misunderstanding of her impact, her gravity, and her greatness. And this is where Sophie Cunningham enters the chat like a wrecking ball. On her podcast, she didn't just laugh it off, she didn't just give a polite answer, she went straight for the jugular in the most respectful but firm way possible, she said. And I want you to remember these words. Probably not the best comparison for the generational player that Caitlin is. Let's dissect that word, generational. Sophie Cunningham is a veteran. She has seen greatness. She has played against the best. And for her to categorize Caitlin as generational is a massive stamp of approval. She is telling Reggie Miller, she is telling the old guard, and she is telling the haters that they need to recalibrate their scales, because Caitlin is not just a good shooter, she is a once-in-a-lifetime talent that defies traditional comparisons. Sophie went on to analyze Caitlin's performance on the NBC set, and she dropped a word that I think is the ultimate compliment in hoop culture. She called Caitlin a dweeb. Now, to the uneducated ear, that might sound like an insult, but if you know basketball, if you know the obsession it takes to be great, you know that being a dweeb or a nerd for the game is the highest praise you can get, Sophie said. She's a dweeb, so she knows the game. She is acknowledging that Caitlin isn't just out there relying on talent. She's out there because she studies the film, she knows the angles, she understands the history, and she breathes basketball 24/7. Sophie recognizes that obsession because she has it too, and real recognize real. Think about the psychology of this moment. For the last year, the media has tried to paint this picture that every veteran in the WNBA hates Caitlin Clark. They tried to say that Sophie Cunningham, who plays a physical brand of basketball, had beef with Caitlin because of a few hard fouls and some trash talk. But this video destroys that narrative completely. Sophie is sitting there defending Caitlin against an NBA Hall of Famer. She is correcting the record. She is acting as the enforcer, not just on the court, but in the media. She is saying, hey Reggie, put some respect on her name. This shows that the locker rooms are changing. The veterans are realizing that Caitlin is good for business, and more importantly, they are respecting her game, because you cannot deny greatness when you see it up close. Sophie also pointed out something that a lot of people missed. She talked about how natural Caitlin looked on the set. She said, "First of all, I think she did a really good job. This is crucial because it validates Caitlyn's future post-playing career, which is already being set up." Sophie sees the vision. She sees that Caitlyn is going to be the voice of basketball for the next 20 years. And instead of being bitter about it, instead of being jealous that the rookie is getting the primetime NBC gig, Sophie is applauding it. She is hyping it up. This is the kind of sisterhood and support that we were told didn't exist. But here it is, plain as day, Sophie Cunningham, the supposed villain, acting like Caitlyn's biggest hype woman. But we have to go back to the Reggie Miller comparison because it really is the elephant in the room. Why do male analysts constantly struggle to compare female superstars to their male equivalents properly? Why do they always reach for the undersized shooter or the role player comparison? Why can't they compare her to Steph Curry? Why can't they compare her to Steve Nash or Trae Young, players who actually run the offense and dominate the ball? Sophie, picking up on this nuance, shows that the WNBA players are tired of the lazy analysis. They are tired of being put in boxes by guys who probably don't watch enough of their games. Sophie is effectively saying, if you are going to compare her to a god, because that is what she is in our league. And then just when you thought the video couldn't get any better, Sophie throws down the gauntlet. She issues a challenge that needs to happen immediately. She said, "I want to see a three-point shootout, Reggie Miller versus Sophie Cunningham, and honestly, I would pay good money to see that. But let's take it a step further. Let's make it a tag team match. Reggie Miller and Peyton Pritchard versus Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark. Let's settle this on the court." Sophie has that irrational confidence that all great shooters have. She believes she can outshoot Reggie Miller. And honestly, with the way the game has evolved, with the range these girls have now, I wouldn't bet against them. This challenge is symbolic of a larger shift. The WNBA players are no longer just happy to be invited to the table. They want to flip the table over. They want to compete with the men. They want to be viewed as equals in skill. Sophie challenging Reggie is a metaphor for the entire WNBA standing up to the NBA old heads and saying, stop patronizing us, stop giving us weak comparisons, and start respecting our craft. It is a bold move, and it is exactly the kind of energy that the league needs right now. Let's also look at what this does for the Phoenix Mercury versus Indiana Fever rivalry. These two teams already had some heat. They had the Diana Taurasi versus Caitlyn narrative. They had the Kalia Copper moment. But now you have Sophie Cunningham stepping into this interesting space where she is a rival on the court, but a defender in the media. It adds layers to the drama. It makes the next Fever versus Mercury game must-watch television. Because you know Sophie is going to foul Caitlyn hard. She is going to talk trash. But at the end of the day, she respects her more than the national media does. It is a complex, beautiful dynamic that makes sports so compelling. I want to talk about the word generational again, because Sophie didn't stutter when she used it. In sport, we throw that word around too loosely, but when a player like Sophie, who has battled against the likes of Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, and Maya Moore, calls a rookie generational, it ends the debate. There are still people on Twitter, there are still people in the comment sections trying to say Caitlyn is overrated, trying to say she turns the ball over too much. But when her peers, the women who actually have to guard her, are calling her generational, your opinion from the couch does not matter. Sophie Cunningham just validated Caitlin Clark's legacy before her second season has even started. The dweeb comment is also fascinating because it humanizes Caitlyn. We see her as this marketing machine, this goddess of basketball. But Sophie reminds us that at her core, Caitlyn is just a hoop nerd. She loves the game, she studies the game, and that is why she fits in so well with the NBA crew. Sophie pointed out that Caitlyn held her own with Carmelo Anthony. She wasn't intimidated by his scoring titles. She spoke his language, and that language is the language of the dweeb, the language of the obsessive. Sophie sees that same fire in herself, and that is why she connects with it. This reaction from Sophie Cunningham is also a business move. She knows that talking about Caitlin Clark gets views. She knows it drives engagement. But unlike some other hot take artists who use Caitlyn's name for hate clicks, Sophie is using it to uplift the game. She is using her platform to correct a false narrative. She is using her voice to say, hey, this girl is the real deal. And in doing so, she is elevating her own brand. She is showing that she is a thoughtful analyst, a fierce competitor, and someone who isn't afraid to speak truth to power. even if that power is an Indiana Pacers legend. You have to wonder how Reggie Miller feels about this. Here is a guy who has been championing women's sports for a long time. His sister Cheryl is the GOAT. He knows the game, but he slipped up, he made a lazy comparison, and he got checked by a current player. This is the new media landscape. The players have the microphones, the players have the podcasts. They don't need ESPN or NBC to tell their stories. If an analyst says something crazy, the players can go direct to consumer and say no, that is wrong. Sophie Cunningham just proved the power of new media by dismantling a narrative that was broadcast to millions of people on NBC. I also want to touch on the owning the set aspect. Sophie said Caitlyn owned the NBC set, and she is right. Usually when athletes transition to TV, they are robotic. They are scared to say the wrong thing. Caitlyn was none of those things. She was loose, she was funny, she was insightful, and Sophie pointing that out is a signal to the rest of the league that Caitlyn is not just coming for your record. She is coming for your post-career jobs too. She is a threat on every level, and you can either hate on it, or you can respect it. And Sophie chose respect. There is a moment in the video where Sophie talks about Caitlyn's knowledge of the game, calling her this is important, because a lot of critics try to reduce Caitlyn's game to just chucking threes. They act like she is just a volume shooter. But Sophie, who has to scout her, who has to defend her, knows the truth. She knows that Caitlyn is a grandmaster of the pick and roll. She knows she manipulates defenses with her eyes. She knows she is playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. And for a veteran to admit that about a rookie is rare. It takes a lack of ego to admit that the new kid on the block is smarter than everyone else. Does Reggie Miller respond? Does he accept the three-point challenge? Does he apologize for the Peyton Pritchard comparison? I doubt it, but the seed has been planted. The conversation has shifted. Thanks to Sophie Cunningham, the narrative is no longer is Caitlyn Clark good enough. The narrative is stop disrespecting Caitlyn Clark with average comparison. Sophie moved the goalpost. She raised the bar, and she did it with a smile on her face and a challenge on her lips. This is why we love the WNBA right now. The storylines are incredible, the personalities are big, and the basketball is better than ever. You have the old guard, the new guard, the media, the beefs, the friendships. It is a soap opera, played at 100 miles per hour. And at the center of it all is Caitlyn Clark, the sun around which everything else orbits. And as Sophie Cunningham just proved, even the planets that crash into her have to admit that she shines brighter than anyone else. I want you guys to really think about the courage it takes for Sophie to say this. She could have stayed silent. She could have let Reggie's comments slide. She could have joined the chorus of people saying, oh, Caitlyn is just hype. But she didn't. She stood on business. She stood on truth. And she defended the shield of the WNBA. She basically said, don't come into our house and disrespect our best player. That is locker room leadership. That is league leadership. And I have a newfound respect for Sophie Cunningham after seeing this. As we look forward to the next season, keep your eyes on the interaction between Sophie and Caitlyn. Watch the daps after the game. Watch the respect during the free throw. The media will try to sell you a war, but the reality is a brotherhood, or a sisterhood, of competitors who know how hard it is to be great. Sophie knows, Caitlyn knows, and now, thanks to this video, we all know. And now, thanks to this video, we all know. And now, thanks to this video, we all know. Do you think Reggie Miller was disrespectful with the Peyton Pritchard comparison? Or was he just trying to find an NBA equivalent? And who do you think wins a three-point contest? Sophie Cunningham or Reggie Miller? I am taking Sophie in 2020 and she has something to prove. Sound off below, because I want to hear your takes. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because we are going to keep bringing you the deep dives that the mainstream media is too scared to touch. Thanks for watching, and remember, greatness recognizes greatness, and Sophie just recognized the queen.